What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City video. Today we're going to be doing a Manchester City transfer update ahead of what I'm expecting to be a really busy January transfer window. One of the most important windows for Manchester City in many a year. Probably the most important winter transfer window that we've had here in the UK for Manchester City as well. We've got lots to talk about, so just before I do dive into that, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe. Going to be doing daily Manchester City transfer updates throughout the whole January transfer window here on my YouTube channel, so if you want to stay up to date here on YouTube every single day with all the latest City content, then make sure you have subscribed to my channel. It is free. Social media links there in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And finally, I want to say a big thank you to Football Prizes, today's video sponsor, where you can go and check out a signed framed Manchester City shirt from Josko Vardiel. There's also 15 instant prizes to be won, including signed framed City shirts from Nathan Ake and Manu Akanji as well. There's only 225 tickets available for this prize. Links and details, they are in the description. Tickets cost £3.95 to enter, and you can enter as many times as you want. Thank you to Football Prizes for sponsoring this video. So we're going to start off first with some contract news, and we've got the very latest here on Pep Guardiola. So he's signed a new contract at Manchester City, which is really good news. Jamie Jackson has confirmed that there is no break clause in Pep Guardiola's new contract should Manchester City be found guilty of their 115 charges and Manchester City were to be heavily punished by the Premier League and be relegated out of the league. That's huge news coming in from the 21st of November. Pep Guardiola did sign his new contract extension, of course, at Manchester City, signing until 2027, when it was expected it was going to be 2026, so a 3-year extension to his current deal rather than the 2-year extension that we was expecting, which is a great result. And it is very much time, once we hit January, for Manchester City to start their next chapter, their new era, that rebuild that Manchester City are looking for. Now, moving on, got the latest on Erling Haaland, and Martin Blackburn has said that Manchester City are now working on trying to get Erling Haaland on a new contract at the club. They want to try and keep him here until 2029, so we're looking at a 4 to 5 year new contract, with Manchester City wanting to offer Erling bonuses worth up to £100 million to try and keep him at the club and starve off interest from interest elsewhere across the globe. Now, moving on, we've got the very latest on Kevin De Bruyne, and David Ornstein has said that Kevin De Bruyne needs to communicate to Manchester City that he wants to stay if City will end up extending his current deal, which at the moment he's looked like City's best creative player that we've got. He's the player that's shown probably one of the most passionate performers for City over the last couple of weeks for City as well. So if we do want to keep him here, he is going to remain on a really big wage. It is an option, I reckon, though, with interest coming in from San Diego in the USA, who really like Kevin De Bruyne, and Kevin De Bruyne really likes them as well, and interest coming in from Saudi Arabia and big money to move there. I can probably see Kevin De Bruyne leaving Manchester City in the summer and him not extending his current contract. But if he does want to stay at City, all De Bruyne needs to do is communicate to the club that he wants to stay, and they'll try and sort out a new deal ASAP. And moving on to the final player from the contracts, takes us on to an update on Ruben Dias, and Steve Kay has said that Manchester City also want to open up talks with Ruben Dias about getting him onto a new contract at the club. That would include a pay rise and apparently some promises over the captaincy too. I can imagine that Ruben Dias will be Manchester City's next captain once Kyle Walker leaves the club, and also if Kevin De Bruyne decides to walk away from the club as well. Now, moving on to the outs, we've got the latest on Issa Kabore, and Record in Portugal have said that Benfica are not impressed with Kabore on his current loan, and they want to return him back to Manchester City, and that process is now in discussions between the two clubs. They do have him on loan until the end of the season, so if he does return back to Manchester City, the decision is, do you keep Kabore around the first team squad, or do you choose to loan him somewhere else? I suspect that we will choose to loan him. Now moving on, we've also got the latest on James McAtee, and Edmund Brack has said that Crystal Palace have added James McAtee to their wanted list for January. City could choose to sell, but they do want £20 million for McAtee if a deal is to be sorted out. I am wondering if City are genuinely interested in bringing in Adam Wharton. Maybe a deal could be negotiated where City pay a smaller fee plus James McAtee to make that transfer happen if Manchester City do want to sign Wharton in the January transfer window. And moving on to the final transfer on the outs is an update on Kyle Walker, and Alex Crook has confirmed that Sheffield United are interested in signing Kyle Walker from Manchester City, but it would only be in the summer, and I imagine this would only be if Sheffield United are promoted back to the Premier League. Manchester City would be happy to let Kyle Walker leave this summer. They want to freshen their team up, they want to bring younger talents into the squad, and Kyle Walker is of no exception. If Sheffield United choose not to make a move, he is attracting plenty of interest from Saudi Arabia and from the United States of America as well. Now moving on to the ins, first player, a new name, comes in the form of Bah over at AIK Freetong. Now he's an 18-year-old centre-back. He's on loan at Real Valladolid. He's impressed at the moment with them, and Manchester City are interested in making a move, and Alan Nixon has said that City would see Bah as a player of interest for their first team, but City would face some competition for his signature and is believed to be available for £12 million. So someone for me to keep my eyes and ears open for. Moving on, we've got the latest on Jeremie Frimpong, and Graeme Bailey have said that Manchester City are right now doing their homework on Frimpong and would like to add a right back in the summer rather than in the winter, as they feel like Kyle Walker is heading towards the end of his career now, and Jeremie Frimpong would be a player that is of interest to City. Of course, already trained by the City Academy, would be classed as homegrown, so that would appeal to City as well. Apparently available for less than £35 million too. Now moving on, we've got the very latest on striker Viktor Gyokeres. Now the Mirror have said that Manchester City want to add to their attack in the summer, and Hugo Viana, Manchester City's incoming sporting director from Sporting Club de Portugal, is a big fan of Gyokeres. Now he's available for £65 million. He's been in hot form over the last year or so. He doesn't want to be back up to Erling Haaland, and he wants guarantees over that. There is lots of interest from across Europe coming in for him. I don't think a deal's going to be sorted in January, but I can see something being sorted in the summer. Man City are one of many clubs being linked with him. Florian Plettenberg has said that Manchester City and Manchester United are pushing hard to try and bring in Viktor Gyokeres, and Hugo Viana is a big fan, but so is Amorim over at Manchester United, so we will see what does happen with that. Now moving on to a more realistic transfer, takes us on to an update on Martin Zubimendi, and Jack Gaughan has said that Manchester City want a central midfielder, and that is top of their transfer wish list as we head into the winter transfer window. And Martin Zubimendi is very much of interest from Real Sociedad, does have a release clause around £60 million, and Manchester City could well look to try and trigger that if Zubimendi is interested in making that move. And David Ornstein has said that there is a growing idea to Zubimendi, that there is life away from Real Sociedad, and Manchester City could be the potential suitor for him, and it's thought that it certainly would listen to Manchester City, but it's believed he'd prefer to leave in the summer rather than in January. But Manchester City, I don't think, want to wait that long. We are also getting linked with Edison over at Atalanta. Now moving on, whilst we are holding an interest in Martin Zubimendi, Adam Wharton's been doing the headlines as well over the last couple of weeks, and the Daily Mail have said that Manchester City also hold an interest in Wharton over at Crystal Palace. Manchester City would prefer to make a move in the summer, but with the injury to Rodri, they could look to try and bring these plans forward, and Adam Wharton could be an option. So question out to you guys, Adam Wharton, yay or nay, would you like to see him at Manchester City in January? The Daily Mail have said that Crystal Palace have no plans to sell Adam Wharton in January, and if I'm being completely honest, I think Man City could find better options out there, but that's just me. Anyway, moving on, Gazetta Dello Sport have been speaking about Nicolo Fagiolo over at Juventus, and reports coming in from Italy have said that Juventus have held talks with Manchester City and Manchester United last week over a potential transfer for Fagiolo, who is valued at between 20 to 25 million euros, and apparently Juventus are keen to sell, hence he wasn't featuring in yesterday's game against Manchester City, so he is an option. And speaking of players for Juventus and options for Manchester Manchester City also takes us on to an update on Douglas Luiz, because it's been reported, according to sources in Italy, that Juventus would be keen on letting Douglas Luiz leave. It could even be interested in doing that on loan, as long as there is some kind of purchase option put in there. It is believed that if City did want to sign him on a permanent basis, they could be willing to sell for around 50 million euros. It's believed that City would be keen on signing Douglas Luiz back to the club, and initial talks have been held between City and Juventus. It's also believed that Manchester United are keen, and also Aston Villa would like to bring him back in as well. Now, moving on to the final transfer, takes us on to a very interesting update on Bruno Guimaraes. He's back in the headlines, and the Daily Mail have said that Man City want two central midfielders, one in January and one in summer, and Bruno Guimaraes is very much of interest to Manchester City. City do want to make a move again for him. Pep Guardiola wants him, he's keen, and would like him as part of his midfield. I do imagine if this transfer was to happen, it'd be a summer rather than a January signing, but I could be wrong. Now, Alex Crook has said that Newcastle are braced for an offer to come in from Manchester City for Bruno G in January. He says that Newcastle are still under pressure to sell from the Premier League regulations, and Manchester City really want to back Pep in January and in the summer too, and they feel like Bruno G could be an option. I am certain, guys, that a central midfielder at least will be signed in January. I could argue a case where 2 or 3 signings are needed to be brought in by City to try and freshen the squad up ahead of what I'm expecting to be a huge transition through the remainder of this season as we head into a very busy summer transfer window as well, which means we're going to have lots of transfer stories for me to be able to get my teeth in. So I know you guys want to stay up to date every single step of the way. So if you haven't done so already, do subscribe to my channel. Daily Manchester City transfer updates coming from January 1st throughout the whole January transfer window for you guys to stay up to date. You don't want to miss a thing. Make sure you've subscribed. It is free to subscribe. Social media links there in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And finally, a big thank you to today's video sponsor, which is brought to you by Football Prizes, where you can go and check out that signed framed Manchester City shirt from Joško Vardiol. 15 prizes to be won as well, including signed framed City shirts from Nathan Ake and Manuel Akanji. Links and details there in the description, and a big thank you to Football Prizes for sponsoring this video. And I'll see you all again real soon for the next Manchester City video. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.